Germany to 10, Slovenia again with young Lampik, Finland, Russia and Sweden.
No, we're having to change booth because we weren't connected properly from your side, I think. So, quarterfinal number 3. Apparently, you've had some problems hearing Patrick Winterton and myself, David Goldstrom. So, fortunately, a little bit of a false start there gives us a momentary opportunity to say that Ingvild Örsberg won the first quarterfinal ahead of Ida Ingsmarsdotter of Sweden, and Celine Brun Lee for Norway got the better of Hanna Falk of Sweden in the second quarterfinal. So away we go here in Otepaa, the third quarterfinal. The rules are as ever: first two across the line qualify automatically for the semi-finals, plus the fastest two lucky losers, who at the moment are going to come out of quarterfinal number 1. So Patrick, away they go on this 1200-meter journey. Initially they come out of the stadium and now they get on to this significant climb.
It's around a 30-meter climb. It's nothing too severe. I think this is one of the easiest courses we've seen on the sprint circuit so far this year. The hardest thing they've got to cope with is the fact that there's a lot of soft snow around. You can see already after just 2 heats that it's starting to cut up, and that is going to be tricky on the downhill sections. I guess the fact that you've only got 1 up, 1 down means that you need to be in the first 2 or 3 if you're going to stand a chance of coming in a qualifying position.
So there's Mona Lisa Malvaleto in the blue and black for Finland there. The Finn who won a classic sprint in Liberec a couple of seasons ago. That's her personal best, being pursued by Jenny Öberg, who was a bronze medalist in the under-23 Classic World Championships right here in Otepaa back in 2011. In the lemon there, Anna Maria Lampitz of Slovenia, second World Cup for her, and comes from Kran. She was the fastest of these 6 qualifiers, and 16 going up on the far side there. That's Yulia Romanova, who got a personal best in Kusamo at the beginning of the season in the sprint there.
Now, David, at around 2:05, they go round a 180-degree turn, a dead turn, as they sometimes call it, and they need to be there in under 2:06 if they're going to match the first quarter-final. The second quarter-final went through in 2:07. Here we go. And, in fact, they're on just about the same pace as we saw from heat number 2, which was won by Celine Brun-Lee of Norway.
And at the moment, right at the back of the field, that is Hannah Kolb, really struggling for Germany. Her teammate Sandra Ringwald there is in the action, vying for a qualification place. They're the lucky losers from the first quarter-final, bottom left of your screen, and we'll bring you up to date with that in a moment. This is tricky, and look at the way that Lampertz has zoomed there. Really good skis. Yeah, good skis, but also good positioning. She's taken full advantage of the slipstreaming, but still has work to do. The fact that this heat was a little slower, David, I think we're only going to see 2 qualifiers from this run. And it's on the right of your screen there. That is Jenny Öberg. On the left there is Lampitz for Slovenia. Whoa, right on the boot lunge there. Photograph, Malvaleto, but look at the time. 3:02, so we now know, Patrick, do we not, that the lucky losers are still looking to come from the very first quarter-final.
I can't see that changing. Not only did they have Öberg leading the way and setting the pace, they also had the best conditions. We've seen how much it's cutting up. It's been a story of the season, hasn't it? Have we had any sub-zero temperatures? Not many, and it does make the racing very, very difficult for those going late on. But at least everyone in the same heat's in the same condition, but it does mean that the very first heat gives you an advantage for going through as a lucky loser.
Yeah, and there you can see really strong double polling, and maybe Lampitz, who was the fastest of these qualifiers earlier this morning, maybe we're looking at a new prospect.
I like the way she double poled. Very, very aggressive, very positive. A lot of forward lean, getting the weight down through the sticks, so important. And certainly compared to it was Malvaleto alongside her, who was just that little more upright, a little more vertical, which doesn't allow you to get the power through the poles, and it's not really as committing. So a really good performance from Lampitz. We'll watch out for her later in the season.
So the front 2 there with the star, they're through, along with Katja Wisner and Celine Brun-Lee from quarter-final number 2, and Ingvild Østberg and Ida Ingsmarsdottir of Norway and Sweden, respectively, who were in heat number 1.
So on to heat number 4, and Stina Nielsen is one of the favourites in this heat, second fastest in the qualifying. She's a brilliant skier, under 23. She leads the under 23 World Cup standings by a country mile and should be able to secure that globe. Maiken Kaspersen, Fala next door to her. She's the most successful bar one in this heat. Here is Justina Kowalczyk. A lot of people questioning why she's come here after competing in the Tour de Ski, but she loves it here, and she does well. She won 2 years ago. She was second 3 years ago.
She actually won her first ever World Cup right here.
Well, I'm sure there are plenty of reasons. It's good to see her anyway, because so many of the big guns missing out, having just completed the Tour de Ski last weekend. Kiloinen also worth watching, number 19. Shapovalova for Russia, 22. We've got Lucia Anger of Germany, 29th, so just scraping through qualification. And of course the bib number tells you exactly where they finished in the qualifying run. So Stina Nielsen, because of that, is the out-and-out favourite. She's 5th in the World Cup standings. That's the senior World Cup standings. So at 21, she's a phenomenal athlete, and the Swedes are certainly looking to turn her into a future champion.
Indeed, just to mention Marit Bjørgen not here, resting after her superb performance in the Tour de Ski. Also absent Heidi Weng, who happens to be 4th in the sprint rankings. Marit Bjørgen leading. But as we said earlier on, Marit Bjørgen, bar 4, has already wrapped up the season-long World Cup, which is an incredible feat. But it's not over yet, but she's resting up.
So it's Stina Nielsen who sets the pace as they go under the inflated banner. Little drive coming on from number 9. That's Maiken Kaspersen Faller of Norway. And the Norwegians so good in this classic start. Faller actually from Lillehammer, so she has the Olympic tracks from 1994 to train on day in, day out. That's got to be an advantage. Finished 3rd in Ruka, which is a classic sprint at the start of the season. So confidence high, and she's got the confidence to take the lead as they make the big climb.
Well, she is the Olympic champion, and she's driving ahead here. And what I like about Kaspersen Faller is that she's very versatile. She can lead or she can hunt.
Yeah, she's good tactically. I think tactics really won her the day out in Sochi last year. That was one of a few Norwegian success stories on the cross-country trails. It was a mixed bag of results for them, and certainly they had an issue with the waxing on that occasion. No problems so far today. Round the corner in 2:04. This is as quick as the very first heat, so we might get a lucky loser out of this heat. 2:57.96 the time thereafter, and it's Kaspersen Faller who makes the drive down towards the stadium. Finished 3rd here in 2011 as a real youngster, so she's another who's had a lot of success. There's the lucky loser time, 2:57.9.
Yeah, and Ann Kolonen for Finland, looking to qualify, but really being shadowed there. You can see the Swede Stina Nielsen moving into 2nd place, and that was tactically excellent.
Yeah, really good inside turn from Nielsen, the youngster, and she's looking just to match Faller. Doesn't want to expend any more effort than necessary, and she's just pacing this one. She may be young, but she's very, very wise. She won that one pretty easily. Faller takes it 2:56.0. That is just 1 second outside the winning time of the first heat. Shapovalova on 2:56.7 goes through as a lucky loser, and we might just get 2 lucky losers out of that group. So, well, I have to eat my words. I thought the first heat was going to produce all the lucky losers, but
yeah, she really pushed from the front, didn't she? And also that early pace that took them up to, as you call it, the dead turn. It was a very strongly run race all the way through, but it actually played into the hands of the likes of Faller on the left of your picture and Stina Nielsen, who just continues to impress.
So 2:56.70 now, the quickest lucky loser time. I think Harsam from the first heat is still through, but Matvieva is out.
So good crowd, and we'll be moving on to the men's quarterfinals. And just to bring you up to date here, Cortina d'Ampezzo, they've had a huge amount of snow, but at the wrong time, and it's forced the cancellation of today's full-length downhill. That is so disappointing for the Women's World Cup, because it is one of the great downhills, but sadly no women's action. Foggy yesterday, misty today, too much snow. Oh dear, but we are going to stay with the cross-country, and if you're with us on British Eurosport 2, stay on British Eurosport 2. Everybody else, we are going to move across very shortly to Eurosport number 1, Eurosport International. So this is the 5th quarter-final. And the fastest was Kari Keitnes of Norway in qualification. Best place ever in a classic sprint, 6th in her career. Pajala wears 8, 2 from the right of your picture for Sweden. We'll catch up as they get away. Pretty even start there, but strongly going out there. Sadie Bjørnsen in the virtually black race suit there for the United States of America, and just trailing Evelina Setlin for Sweden, another newcomer. So up front wearing 13, that's Dotsenko for Russia. To the right of your picture, that's 8, that's Pajala for Sweden. Extreme left there, 28, that's Parmakoski for Finland. So they settle down here. Parmakoski, by the way, under 23, 10-kilometer freestyle championship winner in Otepaa in 2011. There's a lot of athletes who've actually done well at this venue. Conditions, Patrick, look pretty good. The track looks really well prepared.
The track's fine, as you can see from this classic style. You stay in the spore, as it's called, but the only tricky sections are the sharp corners. We saw one at about 58 seconds. That left-hander, that's excuse me, that's starting to break up, and there's that gentle corner coming into the stadium at the end, which is also cutting up. One or two people have created tracks that weren't there initially, and it's catching those out, and it's particularly difficult for those who are behind because they don't get as good a view of the track as those in front. That's another reason for leading the way here in Otepaa.
Payala sent a picture there, 10th in the Olympic sprint in Vancouver, which was in classic style. Dotsenko on the far side, 3 Heitness in 3rd place, and the American Sadie Björnsson beginning to struggle a little bit. 5 in picture there as they come up to this turn. Now, you were saying you were looking for them to be here in 2:04, 2:05, 2:06. 2:04.
Yeah, this is the slowest heat so far. 2:08, 2:08.5 as they complete the turn. And we've got a faller.
Yeah, and that's 23, Evelina Setlin, the newcomer. And Dotsenko is in with a chance of qualifying here, but that has really changed the whole shape of the race here. And it is Payala with a clear lead, and the rest vying really for that second place. Payala should not lose it from there. Pamakoski is back there as Heitness makes her bid for second place and comes very strongly with Sadie Björnsson on the far side. Yeah, so Sadie Björnsson coming through.
Sadie Björnsson very impressive in the Tour de Ski. Heitness, I think, probably too tight on that last corner, lost some of her advantage.
But she's come through with that strong double poling there, and it could be at the end of it Björnsson, and you can see the time there outside or over 3 minutes, and that means that Björnsson cannot qualify.
Well, that's unlucky for Björnsson. She took a good final corner. Norway winning 4 out of 5 heats, with Sweden with Øyberg winning the 3rd heat, so they're going to have plenty through. At the start of the knockout phases, Russia, Germany, Norway, all with 5 athletes, Sweden with 6.
Well, here's the thing, Patrick. Now, this will surprise a lot of people at home. Norway has yet to win a sprint in Otepaa. Should happen today.
Well, certainly there's a chance, even with Marit Bjørgen missing. They've got some very talented sprinters. Østberg, I think, probably still the favourite. But, David, she went so hard in that first heat. You just think she's good enough to be able to take it easy. I don't quite understand why they can't control themselves, because it's a tough day out, the sprinting. We've seen that time and time again.
And there is the finish. Poor old Sadie Björnsson there. Didn't quite come off for her.
Yeah, I mean, you saw the lead that Payala had coming into that final turn. It just shows that if you stay low and you've got decent skis, you can make good ground.
Shapovalova is a lucky loser, as you correctly suggested.
And Harsson from the very first heat.
So now here at Otepaa, we switch to Eurosport International. Eurosport 2 continues with the luge, and we move through to the quarterfinals for the men. And there is the first quarterfinal. And, well, the fastest qualifier goes in the first quarterfinal, and that's Paul Goldberg. Here he is, and here's Patrick Winterton.
So Goldberg for Norway, and he's got his teammate Hatterstad 2 along from him. Really. So welcome back to Otepaa, the start of the first men's quarter-final, and it contains the fastest qualifier. Paul Goldberg wearing number 1, Uli Schneider 10 is there as well. Olaf Vigen Hatterstad, the Olympic champion, the world champion from 2009 is there wearing 11.
And now we're with the live race here, this first quarter-final. And up there, as Patrick said, Paul Goldberg. With him, though, is Andrew Newell, the American from Vermont, who, for my liking, has flattered to deceive on too many occasions, Patrick.
Yeah, he's not having the best of seasons. The Americans with Simeon Hamilton in here as well. He looked pretty good in Val Mestère in the Tour de Ski. Hamilton, who of course won the Tour stage in Lenzerheide last year, and he really pushed it out. Finished 8th, didn't quite make the final.
But the man curving round him there, the Olympic champion, Hadderstad.
Hadderstad wearing 11 on the near side. Now, you'll already have noticed that the men are racing a different course. The women over 1,200, the men over 1,500. So we're expecting similar sorts of time. But I expect the men will be around 3:10, 3:15. We'll see how that goes. 3:17 was the fastest qualifying time from Goldberg. But crucially, 2 climbs. And I think that means that we're unlikely to see a breakaway on the first climb. And it's going to be this second climb where they try and get away. And Goldberg has done exactly that. But is he far enough ahead to break the slipstream? If he isn't, then I think the only man who's going to get into the slipstream is his teammate, Hadderstad. And he won't be too upset by that. The Americans...
Sorry, Patrick.
I was just going to say, American 3 and 4 will be racing for the lucky losers at the moment. But if they get a good descent into the stadium, we've seen good gains made in the last 300 metres.
So the first 2 by right qualify for the second semi-final, and then it's down to lucky losers. We were talking before the competition started about Hadderstad tuning up for the World Championships. Hasn't done much this season.
He's been almost invisible this season, but he wants to get into that Norwegian team, and it is not easy. Goldberg, I think, nailed on for a place in the World Championship team in Falun. Hadderstad to 3:27. He remains in the race. That's what's important at this stage. And Hamilton on 3:30.7. That's a key time, because he'll have to wait and see whether he's done enough to qualify for the semis as a lucky loser.
Well, the way they slowed that down in the front, the 2 Norwegians, I think they've opened the door for a few from the following quarterfinals to get through.
But they're safe. They're safe. It doesn't matter. That, you know, they've saved themselves that final sprint, so they've kept the lactate levels just a little bit lower than if you get involved in a sprint over the last 150 metres. That's so crucial in this game. And Goldberg put the effort in early on, cruised to the finish. Really, a very decisive break on that second climb.
And there you can see, just really taking it. He's pretty impressive, Paul Goldberg, in the sprints. He lies in 10th place in the sprint rankings in the World Cup season, and we're just about halfway through. This is race 6 of 10 that count for the sprint Crystal Globe at the end of the season. And after today, 2 classic sprints and 2 freestyle sprints remaining. That's all, but between them, the World Championships.
So there's confirmation of that first quarter-final. Goldberg, Hadderstad safely through, and Hamilton and Newell 3rd and 4th, so still possibly lucky losers, but that's a big margin. 3:46, 3:57. They're going to have to be a little bit lucky, and there's some really talented groups coming up later on.
Well, this is the lineup for the second quarter-final. Emil Jonsson there with a little yellow card, so here is the man himself, and maybe caught by the jury. Perhaps this is a classic sprint. One of the things they're eagle-eyed on is anybody who skates round one of the turns. So Thomas Northug, younger brother of Peter Northug, runner-up in the Tour de Ski to Martin Jonsrud Sundby, and Parfenoff is closest to you. And then next to him is Eisenlauer as they get away. 1,500 metres the distance, and a powerful start on the far side there by Jonsson, who for me, Patrick, I always think of him being as slightly more accomplished in freestyle skating than classic.
Well, I hate to disagree with you, but I remember, and I've been heavily influenced by his very first sprint up in Ruka at the start of the season, what must be 10, 11 years ago, and he was sensational. I have never seen a pair of legs move so quickly. He would have looked good in one of the Asterix books. It was a blur. His legs were moving so fast, and it is that short, sharp burst that's his forte. And you can do that in both freestyle and classic. So we'll see what he's got. But if he's going to make a break, he'll make it on the second hill. Already losing a bit of time. I'm not sure his skis are running that well.
Yeah, he is the Olympic bronze medalist. That is the man in second place in the white race suit. Missed out on the World Championships in Val di Fiemme a couple of years ago when he was fourth in the classic sprint there. And as you say, maybe he is equally accomplished, but I just have this feeling that I think he's slightly better at freestyle, but time will tell. But that's a dynamite start up front there, really pushing off the front here by Andrei Parfenov.
Well, he's gone early, and it is a long race, 1,500 metres, and I tell you why Parfenov was quick, because he's gone without wax, and he's going to try and double pole the whole way. So the rest of the group catching him up now, and then Parfenov will pull ahead on the next downhill, and he's got to get far enough ahead to be able to get some sort of a lead. And if he's with the group at the top of the second hill, David, then Parfenov will win this one, because he'll be the quickest descending into the stadium. It's a gamble. Can he do it 2 more times if he gets through this heat? It's a really tough day, and the arms so much smaller than the legs. The lactate build up already. He's trying to shake it out.
So Emil Jonsson regains the initiative there from Thomas Northug in the red race suit for Norway, and then you've got the 2 Russians on the right of your screen wearing 27. That is Parfenov, and now beginning to try and recapture a position, but having to herringbone now up this hill.
Well, that's probably why he went without wax, because a herringbone without wax isn't that much slower than a herringbone with it. It's when you get to the top of the hill, and you saw Jonsson bringing his skis together, that's when he will have left the Russian behind. And now he finds himself 20, 25 metres adrift. And I think we're not going to see too many people trying the same trick today. But keep your eye out for 27, because this is the crucial stage, the last descent into the stadium.
Yeah, and it's the other Russian, Patukov, who's now in third place there, and those 3 have broken away. So Emil Jonsson, Thomas Northug, and then you've got Patukov of Russia breathing down the Norwegian's neck now. Jonsson into, this is the double polling sprint there, but Thomas Northug looking really strong on the far side there, getting great purchase, really getting the weight through the skis, and Jonsson counter-attacks and gets there, but not by much.
So 3:26.7, a little bit quicker than that first heat. And Parfenov nothing to give in the closing stages. So the gamble, he gambled, and it hasn't paid off today, and he's going to take 2 days for his arms to recover from that effort. But I think that will be it. We will not see anyone else try it unless there's someone on the start line for heat number 3 who hasn't got time to change their skis. It's always rather a fun part of the classic sprints. You look at the course, you decide whether you've got the strength to double pole. We've often seen it in Stockholm, where you don't have a big climb. It's not so bad. We saw it in Dusseldorf a number of years ago, which used to be the opening of the season.
Yeah,
but
you just named 2 of my least favourite sprint courses.
Yeah, you need a hill. It's all about going up, going down.
And this is going down, and there you can see Parfenov really struggling, and the first 3 away. But the reality is that Patukov couldn't get to the front 2.
Yeah, and I think from that last shot we saw, I think Eisenlauer of Germany just putting in a protest because he felt he was obstructed. I'm not sure who was the guilty party, but I dare say the officials will have a quick look at that. You have to be really bad to get disqualified in this sprinting. There aren't many rules, and they're all aware of that. Pechikov, well, he's a bit of an animal, Pechikov, but he's finished in third, and we'll have to wait and see whether he's done enough. Luckily for him, that time was very quick, 3:26.74. Well, that's the point where the women turn around. The men obviously doing, of course, 300 metres further. Here's the lineup for heat number 3. Pajinski is there for Russia. Ustigov, his teammate, also. 3 Norwegians, Krok, Bakken, Palm, and then Oscar Svensson, the odd one out, in a Swedish vest. And he might find himself on the wrong end of some team treatment. Well, there's the leader of the overall Sprint World Cup. It's Finn-Hagen Krok, who's made 4 out of 4 finals this year in the sprinting world. That is some achievement. Number 5, the fastest qualifier from this heat, Pajinski, silver medal in the Olympic Games, sandwiched between Kryakov and Northug. That was back in 2010 in Vancouver. His teammate Ustiakov only did his first World Cup last year. He's already showing himself to be a force in the world of sprinting at the age of 22. And then the other racers in this heat, nearest the camera is Oscar Svensson of Sweden, Palm of Norway, number 25, Bakken of Norway, number 16. Well, a really poor start coming from Ustiakov, but I wonder whether that's a tactical move. Worth getting a timing on these guys as they exit the stadium, just to see how fast they've started. So we'll just take a spot at around 45 seconds. That will give us a really good indication of how intense the initial sprint is. But Pajinski, as he did in qualifying, looking very comfortable. He's just trying to control the pace here.
Yeah, and just coincidentally, he also won his Junior World Classic Sprint title right here in Otepaa back in 2011. So he's on the inside, on the near side to you, and it's Bakken of Norway, 16, who's now closest to you as they go up this initial climb. And the World Cup sprint leader, Krog, at the back there wearing that yellow bib. Out of the podium finishes in sprint in the World Cup only once. 3 podiums out of 4.
Well, under that banner, they were at just about 55 seconds, which I think is about half a second slower than the previous heat. So that's a good marker to get some indication of the speed they're setting. This first climb's pretty steady. We'll just looking to see, I thought for a moment that Pajinski was going to try and double pole the whole hill, but now he switches into the 2 phase, and there's a little bit of grip wax under the foot. About 18 inches of the ski is covered in grip wax. The rest of the base of the ski is covered in glide wax. And the idea of the wax is that it grips the snow crystals. The wax has to be a fraction softer than the snow crystals. So the colder it is, the harder the crystals, the harder the wax. Today, with difficult conditions, it's snowing at the moment, but it's been, you know, switching from sleet to snow. There will be a fair amount of clister under there, and I think that's why we had one member of the last heat going without wax.
And the man who's really struggling is Oscar Svensson. He's out of your picture, the Swede. Really a newcomer. It's down to 5 now to conclude this race. And up front, strongly up front at the moment, continues to be Pajinski, moving up on that left-hand column. The right-hand column being led, well, it's just changing now.
Yeah, it's Pajinski making a really positive move. What surprised me is that Finn-Hagen Krok, the leader of the World Cup standings, is in real trouble for Norway. And as I thought earlier on, the skis didn't seem to be gliding that well. He's now down in 5th place. He's got a lot of work to do in the closing stages if he's going to make his 5th final this year. He could be losing ground in those sprint standings because Pechikov is in 2nd place, Pellegrino of Italy in 3rd.
Yeah, and he's got to get past Bakken, his own teammate. He's got to get past Ustigov as well if he wants to qualify by right. And Pajinski are now just beginning to close up there. And this is Timo Andre Bakken for Norway on the left of your picture. And here we are. Look at this for a sprint. Right on the extreme left of your picture. 25 trying to come there. Palm.
So Pajinski tying up in the last few stages. Ustiakov coming through with a strong finish. Bakken scrapes in to get automatic qualifying, although Pajinski also in a photo finish with him. And the World Cup leader Krok down in 4th place, 3:25.8. That was a pretty quick heat. So I think we're going to find that he goes through as a lucky loser at the moment. And we'll just confirm that. Pechikov was on 3:27.2, and he was a lucky loser prior to that heat. So very, very tight. It was with so many involved in the closing stages. I think that just accelerated that group over the last 500 metres. Bakken is through, without a doubt, having qualified in 16th. And Ustiakov, using his teammate well, used Pajinski in the closing stages and then just nipped past him to win the heat. There's one thing the Russians do well, and it's that lunge for the line, David. Have a look at that. You've got to do a lot of stretching to get away with that.
But Ustikov, from when we saw him in action in the University a couple of years ago, a real progressive athlete.
Yeah, he made the podium last year. He only started last year. He made the podium in the Davos Sprint last year, so we knew he was a force to be reckoned with from then. But I like the way he races, and he's looked impressive. There is winning time, 3:25.19, and both Pajinski and Krok at the moment in that lucky loser group. So they've got Ustikov and Pajinski to thank.
So on to final number 4 out of 5. Fastest qualifier here, 21-year-old Sondre Turveli Fossli for Norway. And there he is in picture. And he got a silver medal here in the under-23, actually in the Junior Worlds in 2011. 9 in picture there, Federico Pellegrino. And I think a lot of smart money's on this man. He's in a purple patch, Patrick.
Yeah, he won the sprint in Valmester in the Tour de Ski, and he looked fantastic. Came past Colonia, he went past Nortug. It's a devastating finish that Pellegrino has at the moment. That could prove key today.
The only thing that upsets me about the Italians is why are they wearing red suits? I can't get my head around that. And Pellegrino, just as he gets away, ranked 3rd behind Patukov and Krog in the Sprint World Cup rankings. But it's and down early doors there. That was Morilov of Russia. Now, I couldn't see whether that was independently or whether he caught somebody's ski. Maybe we'll see a replay from that. 19 up front there, Johan Edin, tall man for Sweden.
Yeah, unluckily for Morilov, he hasn't got a teammate in this one who might have gone to the front and tried to slow it down. Don't be fooled by Johan Edin. He's a monster, so his tempo, his cadence is much slower than everyone else, so he looks as though he's cruising. I'd be surprised if we see Morilov feature again. He's already 25 metres behind. He's trying to get back in touch. But if he does so, he's going to be finished when it comes to that last sprint.
And Pellegrino characteristically waiting at the back of that fivesome and letting the others do the work. And it's Fosley on the right of your screen there, still just a little bit behind Edin of Sweden. Then you've got the other Swede in there, and that's Quicklund in the white race suit. Then Pellegrino, and finally, just at the back of that group, Ketelai for Finland, who isn't out of it.
They went under the banner in 55, which is exactly the same as the 3rd heat, David, and the 2 lucky losers from heat number 3. So Krok certainly needs to be watching this one, and I guess he'll be a little bit nervous that number 19, Johan Edin, is going to take this group to a very quick time.
Pellegrino on the move, left of your picture, and that was a decisive move from him. From, 5th place up into the lead, just his skis ahead there of the Norwegian Fossli. And those two are virtually together, and trying to go with them is Quicklund, because Edin has been found out.
Now they go round a sharp left-hander here. They should exit in around 2:11. In fact, they're now a second ahead, and we've got a second faller. I think that might have been Edin that's gone down. Who have we got? Quicklund is still there. So the top Swede is out.
So Fosley, left-hand side, in the all red there for Italy. Pellegrino really accelerating. He is really moving. This is the second climb where he's made an attack.
Well, it's so seldom we see them having to herringbone on a sprint course, and I'm all for it because it brings in yet another aspect. Perhaps the only thing missing from this course is a really technical downhill section, but that the downhill into the finish has caused a few problems.
So Pellegrino looking to advance. He's after a second World Cup victory, his first one this season in Davos at altitude. And there are your lucky losers, and there are the crucial times. Now, Pellegrino and Fosley's got back there. Quickland also into second place.
Well, look at that. Pellegrino from first to fourth, having led that last downhill, just shows you that it pays off to be behind at that stage of the race. And a great finish coming in from Ketlai.
Yeah, that is a great finish. I said early on, don't rule him out. He's let all the others do the work. And at the business end of the race, Ketlai, Finland. And is it going to be Fosley? Oh, just. Fosley just ahead of Quickland, 3:31.
3:31, so having been the fastest heat at the halfway stage, at the 2/3 stage, it ends up being the slowest heat. And that just tells us that this is a tactical race. You have to be clever. And I hope that a few people were watching Ketlai there. You've got to save something for the last 400, otherwise you'll just get blown away.
Yeah, that was pretty impressive by Tony Ketlai of Finland.
Morilov went down early on, and of course Johan Eden of Sweden took a fall in the penultimate downhill, and that's the end of his day's action. He'll be disappointed. He looked very good. I thought he might have been able to win that one.
Ketlai, who was actually 8th now. Well, that was Morilov. I couldn't quite tell what happened there, and that was an independent fall there by Eden. Just lent too much weight on the inside ski.
Yeah, I wonder whether he hit a patch of ice. That's a possibility. We've seen a lot of falls with dirt in the snow. When you've got so much artificial snow around, there is a lot of dirt. But I think Eden probably a little unlucky. Hit a patch of ice, most of the weight on the inside ski. You cannot recover from that sort of a position on these skis. Remember, they're only 4.5 centimetres across. No metal edges, so you're just relying on the P-Tex to grip the snow.
And Ketlai, 26 years of age, 8th in the last World Championships in the Classic Sprint. And just looking at his record, his personal best before today was actually 23rd in Ruka at the beginning of this season. So he's on his way to a personal best. Well, in fact, he's already achieved it. So the last quarter-final coming up, and a man who I think Patrick might put some money on.
Well, Eirik Bransdal, he's a very dangerous man. He didn't race the Tour de Ski, so he's fresh. He's 4th in the Sprint World Cup ranking, so we'll keep an eye out for him. All his wins have come in the classic style, 6 of them, and they've all come over the sprint distance. So this is his game. Let's look at the other runners. We've got Cyril Miranda nearest the camera in the French colours, the black and yellow. Next to him is Emil Nieng of Norway. Hakala for Finland wearing 18. We've got Nielsen of Norway number 13, and Pentsinen of Finland. So this is predominantly Norway and Finland, with one Frenchman thrown in for good measure on the near side. And then right over the far side we've got Eirik Bransdal, the tall figure, 3rd fastest in qualifying, and at 28 years old he's seen a lot of sprinting action over the time. How is he going to play it? Very, very steady initially. Remember, under that inflated banner, they need to be around 55 seconds. Any quicker than that, and I think they'll have gone off too hard. They won't have anything left for the end. Any slower than that, they're going to struggle to get anyone into that lucky loser position. So that's coming up in just over 15 seconds.
Eirik Bransdal at the back there. I always regard him as a bit of a head waiter in his 6 World Cup victories. Well, the very first one was here in 2011.
Well, he won in Ruka early this year, so we know he can win. And in fact, he won here in 2011 ahead of Hattestad and Kriakov on that occasion. Just fractionally slower, under the banner in 56. So a second slower than that last heat. That might not be a bad thing because, as we saw, Pellegrino burnt out. Eden didn't have any strength to stay on his feet. And it was a disaster story for those two.
So that's Vegard Nielsen, one of the rookies in this race for Norway, 21 years of age, who leads.
Yeah, I thought for a moment he was going without wax, but he's gone into the diagonal gate, or the two-phase as it's otherwise known. Number 13 leads the way. Miranda on the far side, looking comfortable, but working very hard to stay up with the leader. It's all about conservation of energy at this stage, and Pentsinen of Finland looking very good. The man from Jyväskylä, which is Finland's equivalent of Loughborough, where they do all the physiology research.
And look at the way that Bransdal has crept into position. That was interesting, the move that he's made up there, just to try and get a good track position for the decisive final climb, and then that run down into the stadium.
So here's the first descent. They have got another uphill section, which is where Pellegrino made his break. Round the birch trees in 2:13, so they're some 3.5 seconds slower at this stage than that last heat. But still, I don't think that's a disaster. A lucky loser still could come out of here potentially, as long as they all finish fairly tightly bunched. Number 13 is Nielsen, making a break on the right-hand side as you look at it. We're waiting for the move from Eirik Bransdal, number 3. He's in the middle of the course, the perfect place to be, and he still hasn't really put 100% sprint in, so I expect to see something from him in the closing stages. Miranda into second for France, and the two Finns, Pentsinen and Hakola, now find themselves, what, 7-8 metres adrift of that leading group of 3.
Well, Bransdal, I should say, I think he's been the one who's managed his energy best of all.
So this is the crucial stage. Remember, we're looking for a time of around 3:28. That would be useful. 3:25 if they want to get a lucky loser through. Round the last corner now. 10 seconds of racing to go, and it's still Norway's Nielsen looking good. And we're waiting for Bransdal to make a move. He's on the inside of the turn. Number 3, Norway 1 and 2 at the moment. Coming back into this one is the Finn Hakola, who looks pretty solid, number 18. But Bransdal now stamping his authority on this one. It's a really good double pole action he's got. Very committed. 3:40.0. It's a slow heat. They never got any faster. So Bransdal, he's got an advantage in that he saved some energy on the heat. He's got a disadvantage in that it's the last heat, so he has less recovery than anyone else when it comes to the semi-finals.
But what about Nielsen? What a good race from him. Controlled it from the front, and now is into the semi-finals, so a personal lifetime best. I think this is only his 3rd World Cup start.
Yeah, that's very, very impressive. They have got a mass of sprinters, and sprinting just appeals to the youngsters. It's short, it's exciting. There's a result every 2 or 3 minutes. It's the sort of thing that Norwegian kids are watching on the telly. They just love it. But crucially, David, if you start your career as a sprinter, you develop the fast fibres, you develop the strength, you can then turn into a very good endurance athlete, as Marit Bjuggen and others have shown.
That was impressive by Bransdal, wasn't it?
Yeah, very controlled, really controlled. I think he was just confident, more confident than anyone else, and he didn't go to the front until the last 5 metres.
And it counts, doesn't it, when you get a favourite venue? You have happy thoughts, you know you've done well here.
Well, horses for courses. There are those that can, you know, the Alchemise is a classic example. Those can do it and those that can't. This course, it's got a steep climb, which is good, but it requires a lot of double poling power. So it's the sort of course where Petter Northug would do pretty well as.
So semi-final number 1 of 2 in the women's cross-country classic sprint here, and away we go. Harsem on the near side for Norway. 3 Norwegians, 3 Swedes. Could be like this in the World Championships, you know.
Well, it's a distinct possibility. We've had a lot of emails over the season saying, is the Norwegians' dominance in women's cross-country skiing, is it a good thing for the sport, or is it a bad thing for the sport? And I guess you could argue it either way.
What I can tell you is that actually Norway have got 3 times the points of any other nation, virtually. as they make their way. Now, wearing number 1, this is interesting, the fastest qualifier, Ingvild Flugstad Ørsberg, who normally likes to lead a race. So this is a little different here. Up front, you've got number 7. And leading the way in the orange headband. That's usually Celine Brune-Lee.
Well, I think there may be some method to the madness that she's completely changed the tactics. Here she comes. There's a little burst, which isn't such a good thing. But in the first round, David, there's quite a difference between the best and the worst. And you don't want to be sitting at the back, because the back is usually 30 metres off the pace of the best. Once you get through to the semis, everyone is capable of staying with the pace over the first 500-600 metres. And then Ørsberg's decided to make a move, because she wants to be in that second row, getting some protection, getting some help, so she saves something for the final sprint.
You can see the tempo there of Ørsberg, very different to the stride up front there of Celine Brune-Lee, who's being pursued by Harsem, her Norwegian teammate. You would say is the outsider of the 3. The closest of the Swedes is predictably Ida Ingsmar-Dotter. She's on extreme left of your picture, which seems to be a favoured track.
Well, I guess that all the tracks have been skied in. This is the key corner. Have a look at the time here, 2:11 round the apex of the turn. And Ørsberg still down in 3rd place. I think Celine Brune-Lee technically was the smoothest and has probably put out the least energy at the moment. But what a run by number 21.
Now, what about this, Patrick? We were looking in the quarterfinals for them to be around 2:05, 2:06 at that turn. This is a lot slower.
Yeah, well, the condition, we've had a little bit of snow, a little bit of rain, so the tracks are wet, they're a little stickier, so no real surprises, but I don't think there was any panic. Everyone knew what they were up against at this stage, and now we're going to see, are we going to see Ørsberg just try and look at this?
Away.
Yeah, fantastic, fantastic. In all the other races, the leader's been caught on that last ascent, but not Ørsberg.
So it's the 2 Norwegians trying to make it a 1-2-3 here for Norway. Remember, Norwegians have never won a sprint, freestyle or classic here. And Ørsberg's done it with some style there in 3:10. And Brune-Lee and Harsem 2nd and 3rd. So 3:10.4 and 3:12.4 for Harsem in 3rd place. And that was the Norwegians sending a rather disappointing message to the 3 talented young Swedish women. And that's a message that a month away from the World Championships will be noted.
Certainly, but at that 3:12.4 by Harsem is easily beatable. We saw that in the first round, so she'll have to wait and see whether she's done enough. She'll hope that the second semi-final turns into be a tactical one as well. But you also have to bear in mind the second semi have had an extra 4 minutes of rest. Crucial at this stage of the sprinting competition. Ørsberg totally in control.
Ørsberg number 2, only to Marit Bjørgen, the absent Marit Bjørgen, in the Sprint World Cup rankings before today. And she's only, in fact, 65 points behind Marit Bjørgen, so if things go well, she could be the leader. So that shows you what could be the situation for the lucky losers, but the second of our women's semi-finals right here, right now.
Well, another 2 Norwegians in there, Hjeitnes and Faller. And then, of course, we have the under-23 World Cup leader, Nielsen of Sweden. That's why the turquoise bib is there, just for those of you who haven't seen it before. I like the idea of having an under-23. There's an under-23 World Cup, and Nielsen leading that. And you might have seen her in the Tour de Ski. She was very, very dominant in her age group until she decided to pull out. And a lot of big guns pulling out before the last phase in Val di Fiemme. And I think that's wise in terms of sprinters. You do not want to be doing the Alchemise. Let's have a look at the runners in this second semi. Lampic is there for Slovenia. Looked very impressive in the first one. Hjeitnes for Norway, 30th in the sprint standings. She could be moving up the order today. Maiken Kaspersen Faller, the Olympic champion, up against Nielsen, the up-and-coming star in the Swedish team. She could be Sweden's number 1 by the end of the season. Number 8 is Pajala. So the Swedes have got to turn this one around. We got 2 Norwegians, 2 Swedes, Slovenia, and then Evgenia Shapovalova for Russia. And so they'll all have a game plan. Will they be able to stick to it? Away they go, and they've got just over 3 minutes of racing. It is possible that they'll beat the 3-minute marker. Remember, the fastest time in the semis was 2:55. That was by Usberg, and she's just gone and done 3:10. So 15-second difference, which means that I think the pace in this second semi will be pretty quick, because there are 2 people in here who know they could be lucky losers.
Stina Nielsen just gets more and more impressive, and if anyone is going to hold off the Norwegians at the World Championships at the moment, it has to be her.
But how much racing has she done already? We saw her up to Valmestère in the Tour de Ski. She was skiing very well. She's back in action, where most of those who are in the Tour de Ski have decided to take this weekend off. You only have so much fuel in the tank, and in terms of juniors, remember what they did to Charlotte Kaller, racing her so hard early on in her career. It had a 3-year effect on her.
Yeah, Charlotte Kaller, who's been preparing quietly back in Sweden, having stepped aside from the Tour de Ski. But of course, she will be a main contender, as she was in Sochi, I'm sure, at the World Championship. So 9 following up here. You've got in second place in this second semi-final, Maika Kaspersen-Faller, the Olympic champion. She has just grown over the last 3, 4, 5 years in confidence.
Yeah, she's looking very good. Remember, only 1 climb in the women's event, and the snow now very, very heavy, which isn't going to help the time split. 2:11 that first semi-final, going round the dead turn, which will come... should come in around 15 to 20 seconds time. Faller has taken this one by the scruff of the neck, and she's certainly far enough ahead to be able to get a free run down into the stadium. Nielsen's still there. Second place would do her nicely. Number 22, that's Shapovalova of Russia, the only Russian in this final. 2 seconds up at least on the first semi, but there's a big gap between first and third, so Shapovalova by no means guaranteed a lucky loser slot at the moment, and I think there's going to be a good battle between her and Pajala, who's in 4th place as we look at the pictures, and Pajala coming through.
Stina Nielsen momentarily just lost her balance towards the end of that climb, but now her ski's running really well, and the servicemen for both these women should be pretty pleased with her. Look at the run of Nielsen's skis.
3:12.4 is the time that positions 3 and 4 are after if they want to go through as a lucky loser. 2:53. This is almost certainly going to be quicker, despite the fact that the snow now bucketing out of the sky, slowing the conditions down, but it's having no effect on Faller whatsoever. Driving for the line, the Olympic champion takes the semi-final comfortably. 3:08.7, and Shapovalova on 3:11, and Pajala on 3:12.2. That is quick enough for me. I think they're both through as lucky losers.
I'll tell you what, I was really impressed with Stina Nielsen. Did you note there, just a few meters from the line, maybe 20 meters to go, she just looked behind her, saw she was safe, just eased off and said, okay, Faller, if you want to win this, that's fine. I'll just save a wee bit of energy.
I thought she raced a very intelligent first round, to be honest, and she's done it again in the semi-final. She knows that this is not about winning. It's about getting through to the final, and she's done exactly that. I would love to see her win today, but it's going to be interesting to see what she can do, because she's going to have a massive Norwegians to contend with. Let's look at the just confirmation of the results of that second semi. Faller Nielsen automatically through, and then Shapovalova and Pajala going through as lucky losers.
Well, Stina Nielsen, only 21 years of age. She was runner-up in Davos at altitude. She's yet to win a World Cup. Could this be her day? As you said, Patrick, she's going to have a wall of Norwegians to deal with. Straight on to the men's semi-finals. Paul Goldberg and Emil Jonsson. This is very tasty indeed.
Well, a traditional hot tub is here. That's been a feature of the Otepaa races for many, many years. And I wonder how they'll feel about hosting a sprint as opposed to hosting the sort of 15 or a 30 classic, which really has been the forte of the Estonians over the years.
Ustigov, he's physical, but he's also got a really good racing brain inside that head. Emil Jonsson, Olympic bronze medalist, admittedly in freestyle. Paul Goldberg, the fastest qualifier of the day. 7. Well, Thomas Northug. Well, his stock is rising. And 11, the Olympic champion, Ola Vigen Hadestad. Interesting to see what he can make of this semi-final. And Finn Krogh, the leader of the World Cup sprint rankings, coming into today's competition. Is this hot or not?
Well, it's very, very hot indeed. 4 Norwegians.
So away they go. And is this going to be cat and mouse? Krogh going up on the near side there. 4 Norwegians. This is tough for Jonsson. It's also tough for the Russian Ustigov. So I reckon that this could be very tactical.
It seems to be the way, isn't it? The first semi is tactical. They've got the advantage. First semi is a massive advantage because, of course, there's only one race between the second semi-final and then the men's final. That, of course, is the women's final. These guys, if they can get through to the final without expending too much energy, that increases the advantage because the second semi necessarily is much quicker because they're after those lucky loser positions.
Emil Jonsson lurking at the back there, but it's Hadestad in a much more prominent position than he was in the quarterfinal at this stage of the race.
Well, that's a minute through to the inflated banner, and that's 5 seconds slower than we saw in the first round. So their tactics are plain to see.
Yeah, I think the snowfall's intensified a little bit, but such is the frequency of the race. I don't think that's the main effect. And Jonsson moving up now on the near side. Big move by him, and also crosses tracks. Well, very, very quick move.
Well, no wonder he's been getting yellow cards. That's a risky tactic. Actually, had he taken out Ustigov, I think he would have been in a spot of trouble there. But a wise decision. He's just looking for the shortest line, just like an athletics track. Obviously, the inside line is significantly shorter.
Well, what a turnaround. The 2 men who are now leading were a few moments ago behind a wall of Norwegians. One up there is Paul Goldberg. And it is Ustigov who is leading the way.
Now, I think the snow might have been why we saw Østberg change her tactics, because it's that much easier to ski behind someone who is effectively breaking trail. It's not quite like being out in the wilds in the country where the leader does an enormous amount of work. But even if it's half a percent, David, it is worth saving for the final stages. Round the birch trees in 2:21, so we're now 10 seconds slower than we saw in the first round. And all 6 men still in with a chance here. Krogh again looking a little tired. He went through as a lucky loser, the man in the red bib.
Ustigov still up there. 4 times a junior world and 3 times an under-23 world champion. That's his pedigree. Oh, and right at the back there, that is Thomas Northug in trouble. Oh, and almost Jonsson.
Yeah, stumble from Jonsson. This is what we've seen a lot. It could just be the clister, but it's likely to be the clister on the base of the ski, gripping either the fresh snow or gripping some dirt in the track. He did well to stay on his feet, but that will have pushed his pulse rate up a few beats per minute.
Paul Goldberg leading at the moment, the 24-year-old from Gol in Norway. And they're all in there, Patrick, yeah, all 6 of them.
Every single man in this group, and I don't expect the leader to win this one at the moment.
Swinging around towards the decisive moment, and up this little rise, they need to power off here. And it's 4 Norwegians back in the lead, but Krogh is the last of them.
So Northug still in there, number 7. Hadestad looking good on the far side, 11.
Yeah, and coming towards the finish there. Look at Krog go against Hadderstad, and down goes Ustegov. Real drama. And it's 4 Norwegians in a row, I think.
Well, Northug lost at least a second due to that fall from Russia's Sergei Ustegov. Is that a broken pole? I think it is. That's desperately unlucky. And he spun out of control. Great finish from Finn-Hagen Krog. He looked dead at the halfway marker, but he's done enough sprinting. He's not the World Cup leader for nothing. He's got a wicked finish. He's also got a very good sprinting mind on him.
Very interesting. He just got the better of Hadderstad, and you wouldn't have said that last season because Hadderstad was the dominant figure.
It was only the semi-final.
Yeah.
It may change. And if Hadderstad wins the final over Krog, then he you know, the semi-final is forgotten.
Well,
that was a mistake from Northug actually on the climb. He did well to get back into the action. Coming strong at this stage, Northug on the near side. That's where the broken pole puts the Russian Ustegov out of action.
And Jonsson gets out lunged. So, just looking at Ustegov there.
It's going to be a clash of poles.
No,
It's gone through his leg. Well, Northug doing so well. Incredibly quick reactions. First to move to the left, then to lift that right ski out of the way. And he might still go through as a fastest lucky loser, but the time was not quick. 3:54.30 for the winning time. And we've got Thomas Northug 1.77 slower than that, as you can see. 1 semi to go.
So Goldberg and Thomas Northug must wait and see. But the second semi-final, well, the most impressive man in the quarterfinals is the man who heads this list, Patrick.
Eirik Bransdal, he's going to be difficult to beat. A very clever first heat. Fosli, who was second fastest in qualifying. That means you can be quick. It doesn't mean you're going to be quick in the latter stages. Ketalai of Finland, very promising. What a powerful looking athlete he is. Number 3, that's Eirik Bransdal. I guess the favourite to win this semi-final. He'll hope that it's not a close affair like that last one where anything can happen. Nielsen for Norway. And next door to him, Bakken for Norway. And then on the outside, we've got Alexander Pajinski, who has just seen his teammate Sergei Ustegov take a fall in the closing stages. Are we going to get a Russian through to the final? Let's hope so. And it's all down now to Pajinski, who qualified in 5th fastest. He is, of course, the Olympic silver medalist from 2010. So the clock has started. Away they go. The last semi-final. 2 places plus 2 lucky losers at stake. And the time thereafter, 3:54.30 was the winning time of the last heat. Compare that to the 3:26 that they were doing in the first round. So the snow has slowed things, but that first semi-final, very, very tactical, David. It's opened the door for 4 men to go through.
And a change of tactics there by the rookie, Vegard Nielsen, who's already, by getting into the semi-final, he was the man who led through his quarter-final, but ended up in 2nd place behind Bransdal. And this time, a different tactic, waiting at the back.
Well, if you were wading your way through a snowdrift, you'd like a big man in front of you to clear the snow for you. That's exactly what he's thinking. There is no point pushing extra snowflakes out of the way at this stage. Someone's got to lead. And you've also got to bear in mind that they want a quick time. But, you know, it's just the conditions that are changing this. The person who wants to win this does not want to be in the front at the moment. And it's not that quick. They're no quicker than that first semi.
I was going to say, it really is cat and mouse up there, and they're just looking at each other quite a lot here. 2 on the left there, that's Fosli. 16, that's Bakken, who did quite a lot of work in the quarter-final. 3, Bransdal in a good position this time, and just sitting there. I think that's a very good position for Bransdal.
Oh, it's perfect, and it's very slow. Bransdal wants this to be as slow as possible. He'll be fully confident that he can qualify. He's number 3, incidentally, on that right-hand column, just tucked in behind his teammate Fosli. And David, they're all aware that they get very little time to recover after this. So if you're confident, like Bransdal, that you can win the whole event, you don't want this to be quick. If you're not confident you can get in the top two of this, you're going to fly. But I think the pace they're setting is everyone feels they have a better chance of winning the event by going slowly and risking the fact that they might not qualify.
Ketelai.
2:21, remember, sorry David, was the time round the birch trees of the first semi. This is considerably slower.
Ketelai there just in third place, ahead of Bransdal, but really they're all close enough, if good enough.
It's going to be 10 seconds down on that first semi. Great news for Paul Goldberg and Thomas Northug. They'll be rubbing their hands in glee because they are going through as lucky losers. No doubt about it. They will not make 10 seconds up from this point in. 16 is Bakken, who leads at the moment. Bransdal yet to make a move. Are we going to see a sprint? He's just up the tempo. Here he goes into the herringbone on the right-hand side, but no ground gained at all. They're all struggling with the snow conditions at the moment. In the middle of your picture, Ketelai of Finland, still in a position to qualify. And still, you don't want to be leading over the summit. You want to be in those tracks that have already been pressed down.
And it's Pajinski who's gone into second place there, followed by Bransdal. And still up front here, it's Timo André Bakken for Norway.
Bakken ahead of Pajinski of Russia. Then Nielsen and Bransdal in fourth at the moment. Surely he's going to have to make a move. Two athletes step to the right. Bransdal is one of them. 3:54 is the fastest lucky loser at the moment. They're going to be outside that, no doubt about it. Down towards the last little rise. We've seen a few make a break, and Bransdal on the far side pushes the effort in. He goes from third up into first place as they come round the final corner. Still Bransdal leading.
It's Fosley, actually.
Fosley, yeah, my apologies. Bransdal starting to make his move now. Fosley is teammate
Ketelai
in front. And for Finland, Ketelai driving hard on the far side. He's got big triceps, and that's paid off here. It's going to be tight. No lucky losers because the winning time, 4:06. Can you believe it? They were under 3 minutes in the first heat. My goodness.
Well, that's a lifetime best for Ketelai, but how cheeky was he towards the end? Those Norwegians were really charging at him, and that's two very impressive finishes. He's physically the biggest, the stockiest of all the six in that race.
Yeah, very sensible race from him. Fosley will be delighted. Bransdal will be gutted that he's not made it through. He's finished third. Goldberg and Northug from the first semi are going through. Let's see... well, this is where Bransdal, he's getting caught up. Him and Fosley having a good fight all the way through. And Bransdal's in third place at the moment on the far side. I think finding himself boxed out. Nothing he could do about that. He was only a fraction. He was 3/100ths of a second behind Fosley. 2 versus 3. Fosley wins it. Good finish from Ketelai.
Yeah, real surprise.
Nice to be in the middle. He could see what was happening on the left and the right. 4:06.97, that's nothing to write home about. But he's through to the final, having done very little in the semis.
Well, what a lineup we've got. The Olympic silver medalist, the Olympic champion. There she is, Mika Kaspersen-Faller. Stina Nielsen, the rising star from Sweden, never won. Second this season, looking for a personal best and top step of the podium. And Shapovalova, really the Russian representative, looks pretty happy about things. And Pajala in this final as well. So you've got 1, 2 Norwegians. In fact, just looking at that, sorry.
3 Norwegians, 2 Swedes, and Shapovalova, the lone Russian.
So away they go, and pretty even start there, but it's Stina Nielsen, the leader, wearing the turquoise bib as the woman who leads the under-23 world rankings in cross-country at the moment, who's decided that she's happy to cut out the pace. 9 to her left there, white headband for Norway. That's the Olympic champion Faller. 1 following Stina Nielsen. That is Ersberg, today's fastest qualifier, originally in the prologue. 7, Celine Brunelli in that sort of orangey headband. The Russian on the outside there, Shapovalova for Russia, and the one Swede involved here, Magdalena Pajala. Well, second Swede, I should say, with Nielsen leading.
Nielsen, certainly a bold move to lead out, and I'm not convinced it's the right one. I wonder whether she's just trying to thin out the group so there are less in contention coming into the finish. But I still don't quite understand that. 4 podiums for Nielsen so far in her career. She has never won. Maybe that is what's urging her on. No Kowalczyk, David, who won the last sprint here 2 years ago.
No, I think it was the fact that she loves this place that persuaded her to enter. But a good amount of this 1,200-metre test here. Remember, these women, they raced the prologue, then the quarters, then the semi-finals, and now the final. So that is 4 times 1,200 metres. It's a big ask.
Well, it certainly is. Ersberg starting to make her move at the top of the climb. She wants to be in on the action when it comes to the final stages. Celine Brunelli still looks very, very smooth to me, number 7. And she's down in 4th place at the moment, just tucked in behind Falla.
And then you've got Shapovalova, who's off the back, along with Pajala. Those two look to me as if they're going to really struggle to stay with this now. They're 15, 20 metres as they come up to the turn here. And again, this is not particularly quick, but it's irrelevant because it's all about getting onto the podium. And it's Ersberg from her teammate there, Micah Kaspersen-Falla. Then Stina Nielsen, and in 4th place, Celine Brunelli.
So we're going to see at least 2 Norwegians on the podium. Shapovalova's off the pace. Magdalena Pajala isn't going to compete here. Great to see Nielsen still in there. I think she's well positioned in 3rd. She might get catapulted up towards the race leader, and then she'll be in a good position. She does. She's moved into 2nd.
Remember, her skis have run really well. She owes a lot to her serviceman today, because whoever he is has done a really good job as she cruises up there. And cruises up to Ersberg, and the Olympic champion Falla not with her, and Ersberg making the best of her way home and coming into the final 175 metres of the race now. Patrick, this looks to be Ersberg's race.
Yeah, Ersberg's going to take this. I don't think Nielsen's going to be able to gather the strength in the closing stages.
So Ersberg from Nielsen, Celine Brunelli ahead of Falla, and that was a well-managed day by Ersberg.
Yeah, another win. We saw her win in Davos. I think a few of us were just a little bit surprised that she managed it so easily, but she's been so intelligent. Remember, she led the first round. She stuck at the back in the semi-final, saved as much energy for this final as possible. Too good for anyone else down that closing straight. But really, she made her move on that final corner, David. Great skating technique, which you're permitted to do on the sharper corners. And she opened up a gap of, what, 7-8 metres over Nielsen, who was by then starting to look a little bit sluggish. And I'm sure that's a consequence of leading the first 500-600 metres.
This is very encouraging for her. At the last World Championships, Ersberg was only 17th, but then she was 22 and still gaining strength and confidence. Stina Nielsen should not be too disappointed. That's another runners-up spot, another podium, and she stopped the Norwegians from having a clean sweep. What she hasn't stopped is the first ever victory by a Norwegian woman here in Otepaa. So Ersberg can add that as a little special note.
Well, yeah, I think that's creditable, but I think part of the reason is that often they miss this round because so many of them race the Tour de Ski. You're absolutely finished. You're not going to win a sprint if you've gone the whole way on the Tour de Ski. And I think the fact that the Bjørgens and the Johaugs are all absent is indicative of that. But Nielsen, she's a name to watch. I think Farland, I hope she can stay on good form for her home World Championships. That is going to be some occasion. Whether it can match 2011 and Oslo, I'm not sure, but we will certainly see tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of fans up there in Sweden.
And that takes Ingvild Flugstad Ersberg into first place in the overall sprint rankings, with just after today's race 4 races to go, 2 classics and 2 freestyle examinations.
So I wonder whether she's got her eye on the crystal globe or whether she fancies the world title in sprinting. Maybe she wants both.
Well, she just gets better and better. And the interesting thing is, it took her a while to translate her terrific form, a multi-gold medalist at junior world level, into senior performances as she showed last year in Sochi and as she's showing right now. And what I think is really good is the brain is really beginning to work here. She's much more tactically astute now than she was a year ago.
Yeah, managing her races well. You essentially have 3 sprints within one. You have a sprint off the start for position. You saw that Østberg went for a sprint at the top of the climb to make sure she was ahead of Nielsen. And then, of course, the sprint down the final stages. If you output too much energy in the first 2, you've got nothing for the final one. She's learnt that game. She's very, very, very astute.
But take nothing away from Stina Nielsen. I bet the Swedes will have done what they often do, build a replica course of Falun somewhere else in Sweden, and they've been training on it.
Well, why do they need to do it? Well, you need to do it because there hasn't been any snow in Falun, which is an issue. But you've got to learn. Let's see what she has to say.
Can you talk us a little bit of the snow, the rain? How was it with the skis?
I had really good skis throughout the whole day. And for sure, right before the finals, we were not sure if we were going for the Klister or the Rob skis. But I went for the Klister skis, and I got some meters, or at least I had a good last downhill and last 100 meters. And second win this season is unbelievable for me, so really, really happy.
Yeah, congratulations, especially with World Championships being in classic sprints. So nice time of year to start having success in the classic sprint. Congratulations, and we'll let you dry off and get warm.
Yeah, thanks, and great thanks to the audience. It was really, really great.
Well, her 4th podium of the season, her 2nd win. She's getting used to the interviews, and like all Norwegians, the first thing they do is thank the servicemen for providing very, very quick skis, and they've done themselves proud this year.
Men's final coming up after this.
In Otepaa, the men's final, the best 6 of the day, and as you can see, there are a mass of Norwegians, 5 versus 1, just a lone Finn in there, number 12. It is, of course, Tony Kettelai, who looked very, very strong in the semi-finals, so he still has a chance. The World Cup sprint leader, Finn Hagen Krogh, leading the way at the moment. Tucked in behind him is Northug, who did so well to qualify. The second lucky loser, Northug, having had Ustikov of Russia fall directly in front of him, so he deserves a position in the final. And then Paul Goldberg, wearing number 1, the fastest qualifier on the day, 3:17.61. They will not match that time in this final.
Tony Kettelai of Finland there. He's had 2 very good finishes in the quarter and the semi-final, but the stats are against him here with 5 Norwegians. Of the last 7 sprints held here in Otepaa, Norway have won on no less than 4 occasions, and they clean swept at the beginning of this season in Ruka.
Well, there's a very good chance that they'll clean sweep again. Kettelai in that 2nd semi, so whether he's recovered enough to race this, I'm not sure. Northug in the 1st semi, looking good at the moment. He's made a bold move, but remember in the men's course, 2 climbs. This is only the first of them, and he's going to have to do exactly the same. Krogh of Norway, I think, has gone for the double poling action. I cannot believe he's opted for that at this stage of the race.
And the interesting thing is that whilst Thomas Northug, you see, Kettelai's got away, and Krogh actually held up the whole of that group momentarily.
Yeah, Goldberg's gone for the double poling action as well, and they've already thrown away 30 metres. And I think Thomas Northug, the brother, of course, of Petter Northug, has taken full advantage. He wasn't interested in trying to do this with arm power.
Yeah, it was interesting because the coach just, he didn't need to look around because the coach must have told him how many metres clear he was. And now, can he keep away? Look at this. This is massive. And this is, well, this is a real breakaway in every sense. And Kettelai's on the chase there. So at the moment, it doesn't look as if it's going to be a clean sweep here. 11, Hadestad, the Olympic champion, in 3rd place. And then a big gap back to number 2.
I'm absolutely astonished astonished the Norwegians have gone without wax, because we saw Andre Parfenoff in the second round. He really struggled. He could hardly get to the top of this hill with arm strength alone, and it is looks as though it's going to hand Thomas Northug his first World Cup victory. Petter will be watching on saying, he's never beaten me, why aren't I there?
I'll tell you what, he must know where he is because of the calls from the coaches, and there must be a lot of adrenaline rushing through Thomas Northug at the moment.
Well, he's got to thank the people in the second semi who went so slowly that it opened the door for Thomas Northug to get through into this final. Now into the closing stages, one little climb to go. If Northug can clean that without trouble, he should be safe and dry. Some 200 metres to race now for Thomas Northug, heading for his first World Cup win. A little glance over that left shoulder tells him all he needs to know. He knows he's 40 clear. Oh, don't tell me he's going to fall in the closing stages. 75 metres to go. It's all about the race for second, because Northug is coming home to secure his first World Cup win. Kettelai driving hard in second. Good race between Kettelai and Hadderstad. The Olympic champion is going second or third. Going to be close. Photo finish surely between Kettelai and Hadderstad. But Northug takes his first win, and he took that race by the scruff of his neck. He went so early, David, so brave to go. They went under the inflated banner. It obviously said, that is where I'm turning on the turbos. Looking forward to hearing what he has to say in the post-race interview.
22nd World Cup start, age of 24, and sixth, the best he's ever placed in any World Cup race. It happened to be a sprint. It happened to be this season at Davos when it was freestyle. But this is a classic win for Thomas Northug in every sense of the word. And Kettelai also getting congratulated there. For him, that is a huge personal best as well.
Wow. Well, how many brothers have both won World Cups? Gianluca Cologna's never looked close to doing it, although he did make the final of the sprint events in Valmöster.
Just to put Kettelai in perspective, Patrick, his previous best at Ruka Kusamo this season, 23rd. So two really shock finishes there, but hats off to both of them because they have really raced well, and they've given a bunch of talented Norwegians, the Olympic champion, the leader of the World Cup sprints, a clean pair of heels to the rest.
Well, what a race, and the fans who've stuck this one out through some pretty dreadful weather have deserved a race like this. Northug, okay, it wasn't a tight finish, David, but having gone so early, there was always the possibility that he was going to tie up at some stage. But that gap of 40 metres by the summit of the first climb proved to be enough for Thomas Northug. Fantastic race. And actually, he's got Kroc and Fosley to thank, because they decided to go without wax, and that to me was suicide today.
And what a nice feeling it's going to be to say to his brother, who's had a couple of runners-up spots in the sprints this season. So I'm the family winner this time. And although Finn Krogh in 5th place was disappointing, the Sprint World Cup leader before the day started, he will still maintain his advantage, because those closest to him, like Patukov and Pellegrino and Bransdal, they all disappointed in their respective ways today. But look at this. He just raced his own race.
Well, I wouldn't mind putting some money on the fact that he'll say he had very, very good skis. I'm not sure whether he went for the waxless or whether he went, when I say waxless, you can have a sort of furry base that grips well in this 0 temperature range, or whether he's gone for the Clister. But just like Usberg, he's had a very, very good pair of skis on his feet.
I wouldn't like to be the Norwegian selectors about who they take to Falun for sprinting.
Do you think Hadderstad has done enough? Surely. You can't leave the Olympic champion out of your team, and a man who's won the world title before. Yeah,
and with time to do enough work, he's there or thereabouts. I'm impressed by Kettelai. I think he's raced really well all day. But what about the others, Goldberg and Krogh and Fosley?
Well, what about Northug? Are we going to see both brothers there in Falun?
That would be fun, wouldn't it?
One's trouble enough.
Well, they've enjoyed it. And you've got to say, as you see confirmation of the final result here. The crowd have actually made it an occasion here. They love cross-country skiing in Otepaa. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, and they were behind Ketlai, the sole Finn in that final, but also delighted to see Northug win, which is great news.
Now, we've got to hear from him, haven't we? Let's hope we get a simple question which just allows him to express himself. Must be nearly there to give us a few words. Well, I can hear the muttering in the background there.
Here we go.
Yeah, Thomas, your first World Cup victory. Everybody knows who you are because of your brother, but I can say after today, people will speak about just you and the move that you made to win today. It was amazing strategy.
It was great. It was not the plan, but yeah, I feel very strong when I came to uphill and think about the race Bjørn Lind do for so many years ago, and I do it, so it was great.
You could actually hear the crowd when the TV showed how much of a lead you had going down the hill at the back. Did you know at that time you had such a big gap?
Yeah, the coach about the uphill says 50 meters, and now you go all in, and I do it. So yeah.
Well, congratulations on not only your first victory, but a really, really impressive victory.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, he's still out of breath, and he hasn't done enough. His English not quite as good as his brother's, but he'll get there. If he carries on winning World Cups, he will get there.
And there's the situation in the overall World Cup. The absent Marit Bjørgen, she won't be too worried about that. But Østberg will be delighted as she takes herself to the top of the rankings. A couple of interesting names not with us today. Charlotte Kaller, classic race, wouldn't be there. And Justina Kowalczyk way down in those rankings. Well, I hope you've enjoyed the action with Patrick Winterton and myself, David Goldstrom. It's been all as interesting as ever when we come to Otepaa. Final thoughts, Patrick?
Well, I thought today was all about tactics, and the same tactics didn't necessarily work one race to the next. But Østberg, sensational, very clever racing from her, and delighted to see Thomas Northug on top of the podium.
So the circus moves to Rybinsk and Russia for next weekend. For all of you, for the moment, bye-bye from Estonia.